Hey, welcome to episode number 12 in the Paul Nichols podcast show. So today we're going to be covering something a little bit different. And this is, you have a job, but want to try all of this online thing, but where do you start? So that's exactly what we're going to be covering today. So thanks for tuning in, wherever it is you're watching from or listening from. Could be one of our video platforms or from our podcast platform. So let's crack into today's episode. So you've got a job, you want to try this online thing, but you're not sure where to start. So I'm going to take you through 5 crucial steps. These are 5 things that you really must know before you even try to get involved in all of this internet stuff, all of this online thing, making money from the internet. I've got some examples for you as well. But these 5 steps are absolutely crucial, and these really will help you. So if you're thinking about using the internet to make some extra money, to build a business, to maybe quit your job at some point, then make sure you watch today's episode in full, because every single one of these steps are very, very important. So step number 1, and this is the very first thing you need to think about, is how serious are you about all of this internet stuff? Because you might not want to be building a full-blown business on the internet. Maybe you don't even know, and that's fine. But you do at least have to think about how serious you are. Are you not quite sure? Are you dead serious on working from the internet at some stage in the future? Is that a goal of yours? Is that something that you like the sound of? You know, you wake up in the morning, you go to your laptop, you go to your computer, you log on, go into some of your accounts, see how much money you've made, see how much traffic that you've generated, see how many customers that you've got for that day or for the day before, see what emails you've got from customers. You do some work, run your business. You can go out, work from various other locations. If you go on holiday, you can still work. So this is the type of life that you can lead if you've got an internet business, versus you get up in the morning, you go to your job, you're there for 8-10 hours a day, then you travel back. Your journey could be an hour, could be 10 minutes, could be half hour. I've done both. I've had jobs in the past as well, and I've also obviously now got my internet business. So I know exactly how it works. So how serious are you? Do you want to do this full time, or are you just after a little bit of part-time income to sort of help you along the way? Because the reason why I say this is, it does depend how serious you are, because that will then determine what road you go down. If you're trying to just build a little bit of extra income, then I would say that's actually a lot harder, because unless you just go full at it, unless you just dive in and just go, just hit this hard, you're not going to see any success unless you just dive in. And if you say to yourself at the start, you just want to make a little bit, you don't want to make too much and have too much extra stress. You just want to make a little bit of extra money per month. That is actually going to be much harder. So my advice is, the first thing is you either need to go full on and just go for it, or you just don't even bother doing it at all. Because if you say to yourself you just want to make a little bit of extra money, a couple of $100 maybe per month, maybe $500 a month, that's fine. I totally get that. But by being in that type of mindset where you're not very serious, you're going to find it very difficult to actually make any progress, because you have to commit 100%. Because it can be quite difficult at the start. I'm not going to lie. You're not suddenly just going to, do a little bit of work for a couple of days and then start to see massive results. It can take a little bit of time. I'm not going to lie. That is how it works on the internet and most things in life. So by you knowing how serious you are from the start will definitely make things easier. Perhaps you're not even quite sure if you're very serious. Perhaps you think you might be serious, but you don't really know. Maybe you want more information, and then you can maybe come to that conclusion afterwards. And I totally get that. That's completely fine. But just make sure you go through all of these 5 steps in today's episode, and that will make things, I would imagine, much easier for you to come to your own conclusion on how hard you really want to push this stuff. So how serious are you? That's step number 1. The second step is, do you have a technical background? The reason why I say that is because the internet is full of lots and lots of information, and there are going to be things that you need to learn in order to get work done on the internet. It's not like the offline world where you can physically do things. You know, the internet is a different place. It really is. The digital model and the digital world is completely different. So you do need some basic technical skills. There's going to be 2 types of skills for you to learn. The skills that are just like the most basic of basic skills. I'm talking know how to send emails, how to create or upload an image. You know, basic things you do on social media anyway. So these are the real basic things that you will need to grasp at first. And then you've got the other side of things, the skills that you're going to need to learn that you can implement on the internet to actually create some type of an income and build some type of a business moving forward. These skills might be things like how to register a domain name, a website name, how to build a basic website. It's really not difficult, so don't panic. It really isn't. The other things could be how to create a simple video that you can upload to YouTube. Now, you might be doing some of this stuff already, but you also might be watching this and thinking, well, yeah, I don't have a lot of skills. I'm going to have to learn some of this stuff. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I came to the internet back in 2008. I didn't have many skills. I had to learn like real basic skills. I couldn't even create images on the internet. I didn't even know like any of the lingo, any of the fancy words. I just didn't know hardly anything. But I am from a generation where we didn't work with computers too much when we were at school. But I know the generations now, especially over the last 10 or 15 years, is slightly different. I do think the younger generations, the newer generations, do have much more technical knowledge. So it depends if you're older than me. I'm 44. So if you're older than me, you probably will completely get where I'm coming from. If you're younger than me, then I would imagine you're going to find it much easier than what I did back in 2008. So technical background, it isn't absolutely necessary. You don't need a technical background, but it will make things a little bit easier moving forward if you already know the basics of things. But don't let that stop you. Don't let that stop you from making progress or making any decisions about actually doing this internet stuff, you know, building any type of online business, because I did it and I was pretty useless back when I started in 2008. So it's just a case of you just learn, and as long as you can absorb information and you can learn, which most of us can, then you'll be absolutely fine. So, but that's something that you do just need to be aware of. Yeah, the technical stuff that you're going to need to learn initially. If you've got zero skills, then there's going to be some like real basic stuff that you're going to need to learn. But then after that, there will be things that you need to learn, which, as I just said, are skills and knowledge that you will need to learn and implement, which will actually help you to build a business on the internet and to create sales and income online. So let's move on then. Number 3, transferable skills. Have you got any idea what you think this is? Well, transferable skills is something that I don't really think many people talk about. Transferable skills are things that you do in your job, or you may have done in your job. You may have some type of a career at the moment, and the skills that you have in that job or the things that you do in that job are easily transferable online, and you can then monetize those skills online, use those skills and that knowledge and experience to make money from. I'm going to give you a few examples right now as to the types. These are just examples, so don't worry if you're not in one of these industries, but these are just examples. So at the bottom here, you can see I've wrote down magician, circus performer, fitness instructor, a piano, a guitar instructor, or engineer. Now these are just examples, okay? Don't worry if you're not in one of these. There's thousands more industries you could be in. I just want to give you these as an example because I can now expand on these a little bit easier. So for example, if you are a magician, perhaps you do some part-time gigs, okay, as a magician in your local area and you get paid for it. You have some good skills that you can bring online that you can build a business around. You can create a YouTube channel. You can create some free training, giving people some free magic tricks. You can then even create a full-blown course, giving people, or a massive course showing them all of your best magic tricks and how they can impress their family and friends. And also maybe how they can even build their own little local business, being a street magician or a magician that works out of other locations. So a magician is just one example. So you could bring those skills online. Another one could be a circus performer. Maybe you've been working in the circus. Maybe you've just got lots of tricks that you can do. As I said, this is just an example. These are just examples, but I just want to expand on these just so like you get into like the right frame of mind. So circus performer, you can do tricks online. You can make videos of yourself, create a YouTube channel, a Facebook page, build up your audience that way, and then start to give away, just like you did as a magician, give away some of your best tricks that you can do as a circus performer. And then you could even go down the road of how to keep, how to stretch all of your routine warm-ups, all that type of stuff. So that's another example. You could be a fitness instructor. Again, this is a bit of a no-brainer. Lots and lots of people come from the offline world online to then create a fitness business online, and you could create your own app, your own instructional training, yoga training, circuits, you name it. There's loads and loads out there. But lots of people do that. They come from offline, online, and then create a really good business around their offline job. Another one could be a guitar instructor. So perhaps you do that in your spare time. Maybe you are an instructor. Maybe you've been part of a band. Maybe you play the piano really, really well. Could be any other instrument. And as long as you've got a little bit of a audience and people that are interested in what you do, a lot of the time you can monetize this type of information and this type of passion. We'll go more into how you make money from it later in today's episode. But piano, guitar instructor is another one. Another one could be an engineer. There's lots of things you can create online. You could even go and make stuff. You can create tutorial video showing people lots of different engineering hacks and engineering tips. There's lots of different stuff you can do as an engineer. These are just 5 examples. Now, you might not be in one of these. Okay, that's fine. These are just examples. But I want you to understand and get into the mindset of whatever it is that you do in the offline world, a lot of the times you can bring that online and then monetize that information. So you can then create that information online. It's obviously different because you're going to have to create videos and maybe build a website. You can then sell information, sell products, start making money that way. Of course, there's a little bit of a learning curve to how you set everything up, but these are the types of skills that you can bring online from the offline world, and you can monetize them in a very simple way. In all honesty, it isn't that difficult. Now, one of the things that you might be asking yourself and you want to know the answer to is, well, I don't really have any skills. I don't have anything to bring online. They're not transferable skills. the job I have is not something that I can really bring online. I get that. I totally understand. I was in the exact same position. So if you don't fall into a category where you can bring your skills online, then it is going to be slightly more difficult for you. Now, this is not to say you can't do it. You can, because millions of people do. That's just that if you already have skills to bring online, you're going to be in a slightly better position and a slightly better situation. You can then go straight into building a bit of a business around the skills that you already have. And you can monetize those skills quite easily, as I've just explained with these 5 examples. But if you don't have any skills, the best thing to do is start learning as much as you possibly can. One of the things you can do, and I could talk about this is like for a whole new episode, but one of the things you can do is start learning lots of different skills on just generally how to run an internet business and things that you would need to know anyway. So this is the stage where you need to just absorb everything. You need to go out there, and you would anyway, even if you did have skills to bring online from the offline world. Let's say you was a fitness instructor, so you've got all of that content that you can create online. That would be easier if you're in a position like that, admittedly, but we're not all in professions where we can bring the skills online. I get that. I totally understand, because I was in the same situation. So what you can do is learn as much as you can. As I just said, even if you did have skills from the offline world, you'd still have to go through this process, but it just wouldn't be as in depth because you've already got skills. So the best thing to do is learn as much as you can. And what you can do is, once you start to learn things on the internet, there might be certain topics and categories and niches that you get involved in that you just really enjoy. And I'm going to give you one example on how you can do it. Let's say you start a YouTube channel. Some people call it a vlog, call it whatever you want. A YouTube channel, you make videos. You choose a topic to make a YouTube channel around. And then what you do is you make videos, create a little bit of an audience, or generate a little bit of an audience. It does take a little bit of time. And then as you start to learn and you start to know how to make videos and create content, you could then even create your own YouTube course and say, look, this is how I started on the internet. I built my own YouTube channel, then built my own website, built my own opt-in page, and then built my own course. That in itself is a skill that you can then leverage and build a business around. Because just like you, if you've come to the internet and you don't have any skills to bring from the offline world that are transferable, you of course need to create skills and create experiences and knowledge for you to then be able to leverage. And one of the things, or one of the ways you can do that, is by just start a YouTube channel. Talk about whatever you want. Take action, do things, get busy, get in the trenches, do stuff. That's the best way to learn. If you sit there and think to yourself, well, I'm just not sure what to make. Do I do this? For all the weeks that you sit there not knowing what to make, you've wasted more time. Just get busy, do stuff. You only learn when you actually do stuff. Even if you create a YouTube channel and make a few videos and realize that those videos are terrible and you delete them because you've got a slightly better idea, that's fine. You will learn more from making 5 or 10 videos and then you delete them than you would if you just didn't make any videos at all. Because you've now made 5 or 10 videos and you now know certain things that you just don't feel comfortable doing on the internet. And that's fine. This is a learning process. There is a learning curve. So that's just one example. As I said, I could talk about this for many, many hours about other examples, but that's just one example. The main thing is to get busy, pick up as many skills as you possibly can, and then at some point over the next so many months, you are going to start to realize the things that you enjoy on the internet and the things that you don't. You might enjoy making videos and making images and graphics. Perhaps you like to write articles for people. Perhaps your grammar is really, really good and you like to write articles for people and people will pay you. And then you can leverage that information at a later date, and then you can explain and show other people how they can come onto the internet and build a part-time writing business in their spare time, because you've learned how to do that. So now you can teach other people. That's going to be an information course that you can then sell for real money, and you can build a little mini business around that. And then you can just expand and you can grow your business from there. What you have to do is just you have to take action and you have to do stuff. When you do stuff, magical things happen. They just do. When you take action and you do stuff and you get busy and you make stuff, you create things, you create content, you take action, then all of a sudden things get a lot easier. I'm not saying that just do anything and everything and expect to be making some really good money in a few months. You probably won't. But what you will do is you will learn what doesn't work. And trust me when I say that is one of the most valuable things that you can learn. I mean, of course, you can learn from me, you can learn from other people, but sometimes learning yourself is the best way. So just get busy, do stuff. What's the worst going to happen? You're not happy, you don't like doing it, it hasn't worked out very well, you just redo it. But you've now learned certain things that haven't worked. So transferable skills are important, but if you don't have transferable skills, you can still very easily still make it. You just have to do things slightly different. Moving on, step number 4, choose a business model. Now, what business model do you want to use to actually make money from? Where are you going to get your traffic from? How are you going to monetize the skills and the information that you've got? Do you want to build a list of real customers and serve those customers and give them content, give them videos, give them training courses and sell courses like that? Do you want to build a membership site? Would you like to have a YouTube channel, where you can build a really good community of people that all like your stuff? What type of business model do you think you would like? This is just something that I want you to think about so you can get a little bit of a feel on how you think you would like to do things. Step number 5, we will cover actually creating the content. But step 4 is choosing a business model. So this is the part where you think you need to sort of think to yourself, what type of business do you want? Do you want something that you can literally just leave 24 hours a day and it works for you? Because this is generally what a lot of us do on the internet. We have systems in place, and that's probably one of the overused words I would say on the internet is system. But in all honesty, there's no other way to describe it. It is a system, and you do need automation. So once you have products out there, you've got opt-in pages, you've got traffic coming in, you've got websites that are active, you've got all your hosting in place, you've got your email follow-ups that go out. What you then do is just then focus on traffic and creating your audience, and then you've got a system that takes over as soon as people come into your little ecosystem, like your sales funnel, ecosystem, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it like an ecosystem. Yeah, people kind of join your ecosystem, and then once they get into your ecosystem, they can branch off all different places depending how big your business is. You might have multiple offers, you might have a membership site like I have, and then like other various products that people can buy. But don't think that you have to create everything at the same time. You just need one page where people can opt in to join your list or join your newsletter, one paid offer, and a few messages that you send people as like follow-ups once they've entered your email list. And you can build a huge business on the back of that. It doesn't need to be any more complex than that to start with. So choosing a business model, you might not know which business model to use because perhaps you just don't even know how the business models actually function. And I totally get that. I do have a 7-day bootcamp course which will teach you tons more stuff to do with how to create an audience and get traffic and build your website and everything else in between. It's a full-blown bootcamp, and this is designed for anyone that wants to come to the internet to start building an internet-based income, making money, building a business, and creating customers online so you can possibly then quit your job at some point in the future. So that's a 7-day course. Go and grab it at coffeeshopincome.com/bootcamp. If you want to grab that, you can. The link will be below this video if you're watching this on video. If you're listening to us on our podcast, then just go to coffeeshopincome.com/bootcamp. It's a really good bootcamp, and those are all completely free videos that I'm going to be sending you. So just enter your email, and then I will instantly send you your first training video so you can start going through the entire bootcamp. So choosing a business model is very, very important. But as I said, if you don't know how to do it, I will help you to decide what model to use in my bootcamp. So moving on, step number 5, create content and build an audience. So this is the last step. So this is step number 5, and this is where you actually create everything from. So we've gone through how serious are you? Do you have a technical background? Transferable skills, choosing a business model, and then step number 5. So this is the point where we now focus on creating content on the internet. This is the most important part. Everything else that you've learned up to this point is important, but if you don't create content and build an audience, then you're not going to go anywhere. The internet is made up of hundreds of millions and billions of people, yeah? People view websites every day, people view videos, and it all comes down to traffic generation. Sounds simple, I know. It's basically just advertisement and eyeballs on what it is that you have to offer. So whether that's going to be something like you're watching or listening to today, it could be a podcast, could be a video, could be a website, whatever it is, your goal is to get people to visit those locations on the internet. But that's quite difficult. If you don't know how to do it, it is very, very difficult, because you end up going down all these rabbit holes and people say to you, yeah, you can get traffic doing this, do that, do this, do that. And then what happens is you spend years working on the wrong stuff, and you end up not sort of getting anywhere and not making any decent progress, because all you're doing is following the wrong advice. Now I'm going to explain what's worked for me. So rather than me just give you theory, which I never like to do, I always like to say what has worked for me. Creating content and building an audience. One of the best ways you can do that is by building an email list. So your email list will be something that you own yourself, as long as you've got a proper autoresponder and you pay for your account. An autoresponder is just an area where you can have lots of your subscribers and customers join an email list. That's basically a newsletter. So they're all going to be in one place, and you can then communicate with those people whenever you like. You can send an email to them. They are your subscribers, your customers, until they unsubscribe. So that's how you build an audience. You have people on your email list, but also to get people on your email list, you need to create content in order to get those people over to your website. Yeah. And this is when it gets, I did say a few moments ago, it can get a little bit complicated, because if you follow the wrong advice and do things wrong, it can set you back like years. Creating content is one way of doing things. It isn't the only way, but whichever niche or industry you're in, and also what I will say, if there's anyone that you actually follow on the internet, look at how much content they actually have, not necessarily just in one place, but all over the internet. Yeah, because the key is to kind of be in many different places. Now that's not to say that you couldn't just focus on YouTube, or just focus on TikTok, or just focus on Facebook. Yes, you could do that, and some people have made good and built good businesses from just being on these platforms. But I look at things, and this is what I've learned over the years, is don't ever put all of your eggs in one basket. You're best to spread yourself out a little bit. Yeah, don't just have everything on one platform. It's obvious. Yeah, it's common sense. Because if anything was to happen to that one platform, all of your business and all of your audience would just disappear overnight. This is why it's important for you to spread yourself out around the internet. And this is why you may see people that you follow online, you go to different platforms, and you might even look in some of their profiles and it says they've got a TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter or X, YouTube, and they've got all these different platforms. That's why they do it, because they don't want to restrict themselves to just being on one platform. And a lot of these people have also got their own websites as well, like I have. And this is the key about having a successful internet business, is that you don't just want to have your social media profile, like just one or even two. You want to have quite a few different online platforms so that when you build your presence, you're on multiple platforms. Because not only is this effective, but it's also a very good business move, because you spread yourself out and you have a much more airtight business. So your audience that you start to build on the internet can not only follow you around, but you may get some people that will watch you and listen to you on Facebook, but other people would prefer to stay on YouTube. And then you get other people that might go direct to your website, and then other people might actually be part of your email list, and they'd rather just wait for you to get or wait for you to send them an email that way. There's all different people that prefer to use different platforms, so it makes sense for you to be on different platforms. But also this will help you to create a much more airtight business, so you protect yourself from any possible problems that you get into the future. This is just good business practice. It doesn't have to be any more complex than that. It's just good business practice that you make sure that you're using different platforms. But there is also another way to look at this. You also don't want to spread yourself too thin and think that you need to be building traffic and building an audience on 29 different platforms. I'm not saying that. At the start, you do need to be a little bit more careful and not dilute your efforts too much. But the bottom line is you just need to get busy, create content and put stuff out there. Yeah, and the rest normally takes care of itself. But the number one thing is get busy, get productive, create content, get busy, be productive. And then everything else normally works itself out from there. If you then start to identify certain platforms and certain areas in your business where you're seeing more results and more views and more people interact with you, then you can start to interact and start to create more content on those platforms. The platforms that don't really seem to perform very well for you and your current business, you can maybe not use them as much, but focus on the ones where you are seeing more results and more interaction and more people finding you, and where you see more views from your videos and your content. So it's kind of a little bit of common sense. You know, you work on what seems to be working best for you in your current business. Everyone's different. Everyone's got a slightly different business. Some people prefer to be on YouTube more. Other people prefer to be on Facebook more. Other people would rather not be on social media much at all and would rather do most things behind closed doors, behind like in their autoresponder, and they would rather send emails out in like some kind of like a newsletter, and that's absolutely fine. Personally, what I do is I do all of it. So everything I've just explained to you, I make sure that I'm on lots of different platforms. I've got my own newsletter, and I have got my own social media profiles as well. So I've got, and my own website, sorry. So I've got my own website, my own newsletter, and I'm on multiple social media platforms. Plus I've got my own podcast as well. Now, you don't have to have all of these in place to start with, because there are skills. Like I said to you, do you remember at the start when I said to you, do you have a technical background? Because there are going to be things that you're going to have to learn in order to do this stuff. But creating content, building an audience is the building block towards you having a business on the internet. And this is the actual process that you need to follow. Now, what I will say is, depending what you want to do and depending how serious you are, because that was step number 1, wasn't it? I said, try to decide how serious you are about all of this stuff. Hopefully by now, after going through all 5 of these steps, have you got a little bit more of an idea on how serious you think that you're going to take this stuff? Because, like I said half hour ago now, it does make a big difference if you decide to treat this very seriously, because what happens is if you treat it more seriously, you will have more discipline and you will commit to it 100% and you'll have more focus. And they are primarily how you're going to get stuff done. If you say to yourself, well, I'm not going to treat this very seriously, this is just a little bit of part-time income, a little bit of extra spending money, then if you're in that mindset, you're never going to ever feel like you want to do anything, because you've told yourself that you're not taking it very seriously. Yeah? Does that make sense? So let's go through this one more time then. So step 1, how serious are you? Step 2, do you have a technical background? If you don't worry about it. It is not the end of the world, but it's just something to bear in mind and just be aware of. You may have to learn a few technical skills before you start learning the actual skills that will put money in your bank. That's all I'm saying. You may have to learn a little bit more, just like I did. But it can be done, and it doesn't necessarily take very long to do either. Step number 3, transferable skills. What can you bring from the offline world online? Step number 4, choose a business model. Like I said, if you don't know what type of business model you want to use, again, don't worry about it. I do have some extra training which will help you to identify what model that you want to use. It's up to you. You can go and grab that free training, entirely up to you. And then step number 5 is creating the content, building an audience. So that is how you're actually going to get eyeballs on your offer and eyeballs on your website and eyeballs on your products, eyeballs on your videos, eyeballs on your content, eyeballs on your articles, eyeballs on your podcasts. Create content, build an audience. Once you have people that are engaged in whatever it is that you put out there onto the internet, everything else becomes much easier. But you do have to create content and build an audience. Whether your content is going to be in the form of a paid course or free course, that's entirely up to you. When I say create content, if you want free traffic, you need to create content and distribute it all over the web. Yeah. Some people will pay for traffic, and some people may say that you're best to pay for traffic rather than create free traffic, because free traffic takes too long and is time consuming. Paid traffic, you get it instantly. Yes, you do, but the moment you stop paying for traffic, it goes. So there is definitely an argument on both sides. I like to do a little bit of both. I love free traffic and I love creating good, juicy content, and I put it out there, and it really helps people to solve their problem, whatever it may be. In this case, is obviously starting an internet business. So this is how you build an audience. But if you pay for traffic, yes, you can get traffic much faster, but of course you have to pay for traffic. And if you don't have a lot of money to actually invest or spend in your business, then you're not going to be able to buy traffic. And this is why I say create content and try to get free traffic initially, because it's completely free. The only thing that you have to invest in or use is your time. And if you don't have money, then all you have left is your time to use. You can't have it both ways. Yeah, if you don't have the money to invest in traffic, then you're going to have to use your own time. Once you build up enough free traffic with content that you've created over the next so many months or years, then and only then, once you're seeing a return on your content that you've put out there and you've put all this work in, and you start making money and you're building a nice little business, then you could invest a little bit of your money in your profits in paid traffic. But I wouldn't do that initially. Just keep things nice and simple. Create some good, juicy content. Put it out there. Use the things that I've given you in today's episode. Distribute your content out there and just be consistent. And you will start to see some results at some point in the near future. Just keep putting it out there, and then at some point the results will start to compound over time. This is exactly the 5 steps that, in my opinion, you need to follow if you want to try this online thing. There are things to learn. It's the same as anything. You have to learn the basics. But once you make a start, things get much, much easier. Make a start, get busy, and then you just start going from there and just don't look back. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and you can use this moving forwards, and this is going to help you to save a lot of time, a lot of money, and help you to get on the road to making progress a lot faster. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you in the next episode. Take care.